Okay, to understand Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, we need to understand their holy books. So what is this holy book we call the Jews use? The Old Testament would be one way, written in Hebrew. Of course, the New Testament, which is known as the Injil in Islam. The New Testament is the holy book for evangelical Christianity, but both Old and New Testament work for Christians too, do they not? Jesus is fulfillment of the law and the prophets. So Judaism has the Old Testament, Christianity has the New and the Old Testament, and then we get to Islam. Islam has the Quran. What is the Quran? The Quran is a blend of 3 books and numerous other teachings of the time. The Quran is inclusive of the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible. There will be passages from the Torah in the Quran. And some of the Psalms. There will be passages from the Psalms in the Quran. And there will also be passages from the Injil, the Evangel, which is the New Testament concerning Jesus. So the Quran is a conglomeration of Old Testament passages and New Testament passages. Why is this important? Well, it's important because Muhammad chose some of those passages and borrowed from other religions when the Quran was put together. Now, how Allah would have already written the Quran prior to the revelation to Muhammad, I don't know, because that would have had to happen before the New Testament ever occurred. That's a bit of a problem. I don't know how you reconcile that. But when it comes to prophets, there are 25 prophets mentioned in the Quran. There are 100,000 prophets in Islam today, but there are 7 that are accentuated in the Quran itself. And they are Adam, again, common ground, Abraham, Abram, who becomes Abraham, Moses. We pick Moses up in the Torah, and we pick Moses up in the Psalms to be in the Quran. David, King David, and Solomon, his son, the wisest man on earth, and of course, Jesus. Now, Jesus is mentioned in the Quran, and he is mentioned in very specific ways that are very eye-opening, and we must understand how the Muslims view Jesus, we must understand how the Jews view Jesus, and we must understand how we view Jesus so that we can communicate accurately with one another. The birth of Jesus is foretold in the Quran. There's no question about that. The announcement of the angels regarding the advent of Jesus Christ is in the Quran, as is the fact he was born of a virgin. You may not be aware of this, but so too is the statement that Jesus was never touched by Satan and lived a sinless life in the Quran. Jesus is known to be a prophet and a teacher and to have miraculous powers. That is all very common with Christian thought and Christian reality, beyond thought. A lot of people aren't aware of what the Quran has to say about Jesus himself. Thank you, Muhammad, for that. Now, the deviation and the separation begins to happen where Jesus is not crucified, is not buried, and is not resurrected. The Quran states that Jesus, for the most part, will use the word translated, to move from this earth to paradise. And the Quran believes that Jesus will return in the last days to judge those on the earth. So you see the weightiness of Jesus in the Quran. The only thing that they don't understand, Muslims don't understand about Jesus, is how he would allow himself to die, how God would allow himself to die, or a prophet, more importantly, would allow himself to be punished and die on a cross in that manner. So Islam believes that the Injil, the New Testament, has been corrupted by man, but some parts are worth preservation, and those parts have been pulled out. Remember, the Quran states that Jesus was sinless. This is very important. The Quran also states that it is a holy book, and in a holy book there cannot be a lie. It also states that a prophet cannot lie. It also states that Jesus is a prophet. Therefore, if Jesus claimed to be the Son of God, and he cannot still be a prophet at the same time, and be called one in the Quran itself. We'll get back to that momentarily. There is also some Arabian ceremonial type religious stuff in the Quran. So you see, as in many holy books of various religions, a kind of a pulling in, between 600 and 700 AD, a pulling in of some various religious texts to give a weightiness to the religion at its origin. Therein lies sort of the doctrinal makeup of the Quran.